My first question for you is, how can you estimate the total cost of a program beyond tuition?
The first thing to do is identify the program that you want to pursue and understand, if you have any transfer credits available, where they would transfer in. Any transfer credits are going to knock down your total cost of program because you'll have already have some credits applied to that program. Looking at tuition costs as kind of the base layer, calculated by the remaining credits that you would need to earn your degree, and then taking a look at, cost of living, what depending on if it's a campus school or an online school. Course materials, they're variable depending upon the program, if there's any kind of lab fees or things like that. So you kind of want to take a step back and look at the holistic costs of attendance, and you'll see your calculated cost of attendance if you apply for federal financial aid. And that's kind of like a base estimate of the total cost of attending at any given school. So that's a good way to kind of gauge what the total costs would be within kind of like a regional average based on where the school is located or where you're located geographically. The typical costs are wildly variable for master's programs depending upon the school that you're attending. So there are costs of attending schools where there are brick and mortar, benefits and expenses that would need to be accounted for in the costs. And then, there's also the cost of the investment of your time and energy. And I always encourage people to be mindful about budgeting for that. Like, what is the pace and that's going to serve you the best in your life, in your career, and in your academic pursuits. And, if an asynchronous program that you can kind of move at your own pace works better for your life and all of your other commitments and responsibilities, that is not a non-zero factor in the equation of the cost of your program. And it's definitely worth considering that.
Tiffany, could you please share some options that are available for financing a master's degree?
We would definitely recommend, if you're pursuing higher education, to apply for financial aid through the FAFSA. Definitely would say apply for scholarships, especially if you were, an exceptional student in undergrad, or even if you're just like a quirky person and you have kind of a niche area or identity that you're a part of. Seek out scholarships that may cater to that and want to give you money just for being unique and smart.
You shared some great things about the loans, about the scholarships. What are some other ways that you can help pay for a master's degree?
We actually offer like quite a few discounts. So consider trying to see if you qualify for a discount as well. Based on your employer, or maybe even, if you're someone in your household has an employer that has an affiliation with SNHU, you may qualify for a discount, and that can be a really big help. It could save you, 5, 10, 15% off your tuition. So it never hurts to check. Of course, if it's something you've been considering for a little while, paying out of pocket is always an option. But if you're working, check with your employer, see if they offer a tuition assistance or reimbursement, because we also have a lot of partners that will pay up to a certain amount per year. Like, I think it's, usually employers will pay like $5,250 a year towards you getting your degree. And, usually it's money that you don't have to pay back. So, it's a great option to explore, if you're not wanting to, pay yourself or, go the loan route.
Why might it be a good idea to ask your employer about tuition benefits?
Sometimes I find when, it might not be clear to a person whether or not a tuition benefit is available. They have some resistance about inquiring about that with their employer. And I try to reassure them, a lot has changed in, workplace benefits, and we're seeing an increasing number of employers offering some kind of tuition reimbursement. We're in a very dynamic world where knowledge and expertise is needed at more advanced levels. So they're trying to support their employees in learning about the world and how to function in it effectively. So I always, when I bump into folks who are kind of resistant about asking, I'm like, worst case scenario, your employer will then know that you're interested in higher education. And they may take that into consideration when they're making decisions about future employer benefits. Our department's, employer benefits are broadly variable. They have different requirements. They pay out differently. They process differently. Finance counselors at SNHU are like expert level at navigating any kind of those tuition benefits, and we're here to help you first identify them and make sure that they process to your account successfully. And it can save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in the long run. So ask.
And Jill, what resources exist that can help students with planning to pay for their master's degree?
Your number one resource for like helping to plan for paying for a master's degree at SNHU, it's us, the finance counselors. We are the keepers of the knowledge, not the keepers, but we have the knowledge to assist with, understanding your personal goals, your needs, and helping you navigate the resources available to help you get to where you want to go, and not just academically, financially, professionally. It's a very holistic approach. Outside of that, the federal websites have some really great tools with calculating costs of programs and what they would look like over time. If you're using federal student loans, what repayment options would be available and what repayment would look like over time, which is a pretty serious thing to consider when you're taking on debt to finance that education. So I always encourage people to kind of play around with those and see what those costs look like over time with interest and, the different levels of repayment as well. So there are federal resources available to assist with that. Most schools will have, some kind of calculator based on tuition and things like that.
What other advice would you give to students who are wondering, can I afford a master's degree? How can I pay for one?
I would say be tenacious in your pursuit of funding, and be open-minded